apples from a tree. "Read it again," she said, in a tone that brooked no argument. Jenny Stocks's eyesight was so bad she struggled to read in poor light, but the abbess's voice had lost none of its steel. He'd read the summary of synod judgments twice now already, and it was not a short list, but he resisted the urge to roll his eyes. Failing eyesight or no, if his abbess caught him doing that, she'd box his ears. "Judgment 4. The General Assembly. Rafael Barrasso di Tassato." By the time Robin had finished the list for the third time, his voice was getting hoarse, and he was openly eyeing the pitcher of fresh water on the abbess's desk. Jenny ignored him, continuing to pace up and down as she'd been doing since the first recital. "Good, good, good. So, that's the Cinderpath Exchange, the Invisible Cord Brokerage." Her voice trailed off as she started counting commissions on her fingers. She finished her reckoning and then turned to face Robin. "By my tally, there's still the potential for at least 2, maybe 3 more. There is?" he asked, trying to work out what on earth she was talking about. Yes, but we'll need to push. We can't afford to lose this momentum. Bartimus's words have roused people from their slumber, but it won't last. We need to pick the apples while they're still green. We've sat back and let the Nationals do our work for us. It's time for the Prosperity Assembly to strive and toil." "Right." Robin had no idea what he was agreeing to. The abbess hated explaining herself. Better to just nod. She beamed at him, her eyes twinkling with obvious pleasure. Filled with hope, Robin allowed himself the opportunity to cast a meaningful glance in the direction of the pitcher of water, but his abbess was already barking orders at him. "Fetch parchment, quills, ink, and sand immediately. We'll need to write letters, 4 at least, today." No water for him, then. The prospect of spending the entire morning taking dictation from the old woman caused him to roll his eyes in protest, though not before he'd turned his back to go and do as she'd instructed. Overview. Over the last year or so, the Empire has wrestled with the contentious question of how the Empire's most precious resources should be allocated. Now the civil service have prepared details for the opportunity to construct a trading hall in Valashal, as well as making clear that the Blackfield Market and the Parador of Dust are still viable, though neither opportunity will exist for much longer, as the impact of the 3 mandates endorsed by the Synod following the winter solstice 382 YE is now waning. Keen to seize the moment before it passes, a group of prosperous Farushkans have identified a way to take advantage of a recent opportunity that the Dornish failed to capitalize on, seeking to increase their share of the trade on the Semelak. By contrast, a Marcher Friar suggests that the Cardinal of Prosperity should use their leadership and influence in the Prosperity Assembly to pass their own mandate, bypassing the National Assemblies and seeking to identify new opportunities in the Empire directly. A Troll's Shadow. Constructing the Copper Hall would cost 16 wains of weirwood, 32 crowns in labour, and require a Senate motion or wayleave. The current hall at Valashal was constructed on the site of a much older hall, the Rune Hall. According to legend, the Rune Hall was built by a troll the Scots named the Torn Light of Night Falling, but it was said to be cursed. Bridget razed the Rune Hall to the ground and had fresh timber and stone brought in so that no part of the original remained. Over time, the settlement grew, and now a Suak ice walker named Archer 5 Feet has proposed the construction of the Copper Hall, a new trading hall that would allow merchants from southern Harmark and northern Calavisa to bring their goods here for sale. Archer's Copper Hall is an unusual design that requires 16 wains of weirwood and 32 crowns and would take 3 months to construct. The hall is actually a pair of twinned buildings, laid out to resemble the curving forms of the Rune Lan. The Copper Hall would facilitate trade in stone from the nearby hills, helping to enrich Valasmark, as well as creating an opportunity for whoever is appointed to oversee the trading hall, to buy small quantities of white granite when they come up for sale. This position would be an imperial title, the Talon of Copper Hall, and would need to be a Wintermark national appointment to be effective. The Civil Service advised that the constitutional method of appointment would be for an annual appointment by tally of the votes, allowing leaders of Wintermark military units to decide who should hold the position. As well as white granite, the nearby hills produce the odd ring of ilium, which might also be available on the market. Fearful children claim that this ilium is Tornlight's final legacy and that it is cursed, but there is no truth to this. Every magician who has ever examined the ilium that is found here confirms that it is pure and unsullied by any curse. A ripple on the lake. Enlarging the docks would cost 18 wains of white granite, 36 crowns, and require a Senate motion, they leave. Of all the nations in the Empire, Barushka is by far the richest in terms of natural resources, with deep seams of valuable metals and vast forests of high-quality timber. The bustling port of Koropny, situated in the east of Karov, lies on the northwestern shores of the Semalak, where it benefits from substantial trade with Dorn and Holberg, as well as the rich resources of the territory. Only the ever-present threat of the Thule exists to check its ambitions. The local boyars waited with interest to see how the Dornish would respond to the opportunity to build the star metal market in Lakra. These wealthy Varushkans have grown rich from the lake trade and welcomed the prospect of new markets opening up, but they are quick to seize the chance when the Dornish opted not to pursue it. Under the leadership of Oksana Leyeva-Penavora, they swiftly put forward an alternative plan. The plan involves enlarging and expanding the current docks and would require 18 wains of white granite and 36 crowns. It would take 3 months, and once complete would also create an imperial title, Harbour Master of Semalak, that would oversee the docks and take advantage of the opportunity to purchase Bourse materials at a reasonable price. The Civil Service advises that the constitutional method of appointment would be for an annual appointment by tally of the votes, allowing Varushkan mine and farm owners to decide who should hold the position. In addition to opening up a useful new market for Bourse resources, the docks would become the natural place to sell any ilium found in the Semalak, allowing the harbour master to benefit from this trade also. All that remains. Constructing the Blackfield market would cost 12 wains of weirwood, 24 crowns in labour, and require a Senate motion or wayleave. Refurbishing the Parador of Dust would cost 16 white granite, 32 crowns, and require a Senate motion or wayleave. The Civil Service indicate that 2 previous opportunities are still available. The Marchers could commission the Blackfield market, and the Freeborn could construct the Parador of Dust. Constructing the Blackfield market would require 12 wains of weirwood, 24 crowns in labour costs, and the use of a Senate motion or imperial wayleave. It would take 3 months, and once complete would also create an imperial title, Blackfield Bailiff, that would oversee the market and take advantage of the opportunity to purchase Bourse materials at a reasonable price. The constitutional method of appointment would be for an annual appointment by tally of the votes, allowing Marcher farm owners to decide who should hold the position. Refurbishing the Parador of Dust would require 16 wains of white granite, 32 crowns in labour costs, and the use of a Senate motion or imperial wayleave. It would take 3 months, and once complete would also create an imperial title, Mistress of the Dust Parador, that would oversee the market and take advantage of the opportunity to purchase Bourse materials at a reasonable price. The constitutional method of appointment would be for an annual appointment by tally of the votes, allowing freeborn fleet owners to decide who should hold the position. A market too many. The public auction will receive no more weirwood if the Koropny docks are expanded. The public auction will receive no more mithril if the Parador of Dust is refurbished. The public auction will receive no more white granite if the Blackfield market is expanded or the Copper Hall is raised. And the Blackfield market and the Copper Hall are in opposition to each other. The returns will be split if both are built. There is a significant problem. All these opportunities for markets, trading halls, and the like work by diverting resources to national markets that would normally be sent to Anvil for public auction instead. the supply of white granite going to the public auction has already halved following the construction of the Cinderpath exchange. If the Blackfield market is expanded or the copper haul is raised, then the regular supply of white granite will end. If both are commissioned and completed, then the prices would increase and the quantity available at both the copper haul and the Blackfield market would be halved for as long as both establishments remained operable. Likewise, if the Parador of Dust is refurbished, then the remaining supply of mithril to the public auction will end, and if the Korotnoy docks are expanded, then the remaining supply of weirwood will end. Once the supplies to the public auction are being disposed of in this way, there will be no new opportunities in the future to commission a ministry in this way. The reward for a good job is more work. Marcher proverb. An unspent coin. For the next year, the Cardinal of Prosperity can submit a special mandate to the Assembly of Prosperity. If the mandate is passed with a greater majority, it will create an economic opportunity in the named territory. The current Cardinal of Prosperity is Onan of the Chantry of the Silver Skull, but the title is up for appointment during the winter solstice. Perhaps the most unusual response to Bartimaeus' mandate comes from Jenny Stock, the abbess of Stockwater Monastery. Jenny is renowned for her adherence to the virtue of prosperity, and decades ago she rose quickly to become the youngest abbot in the monastery's 300-year history. Although she rarely leaves the monastery these days, the abbess still takes a keen interest in the statements and mandates of the Assembly of Prosperity. She has not shied away from sharing her frustration at the indifferent response from some nations, so now she proposes to tackle the problem at its source. Rather than wait for national assemblies to promote opportunities for commerce in their nation, she argues that the Assembly of Prosperity should take matters into their own hands. There are 3 things that should never be made: food that goes uneaten, coin that goes unspent, and magic that goes unused. We send named priest with 25 liao to named territory to urge all prosperous citizens to seek out new opportunities for commerce and development in their lands, putting forward their proposals for consideration at the next summit. Synod Mandate Prosperity Assembly. Jenny proposes that the Cardinal of Prosperity should submit a suitably worded mandate that identifies a single region or territory in the empire. The mandate would urge followers of prosperity who dwell there to seek opportunities to develop trade and commerce in their lands, so that suitable proposals could be put forward for consideration at the following summit at Anvil. She provides an example of the wording that could be used for the mandate, but also points out that the Cardinal could try and use the mandate wording to provide additional guidance on what sort of opportunity the Assembly were looking for. The Civil Service calculate that for the next year, if the Cardinal of Prosperity put forward a mandate like this, and it was endorsed with sufficient liao, then it would definitely give rise to an opportunity in that territory at the next summit. These mandates could create opportunities for increased trade or production in common materials like mana crystals, herbs, ingots, measures and similar. They would not be able to provide opportunities for increased production of bourse resources such as mithril or ilium. In normal times, this mandate only requires a simple majority, but at present all synod mandates require a greater majority to be effective, due to the actions of the Wisdom Assembly. Further reading. Prosperity and the Public Auction summarizes the history behind this Wind of Fortune. Scaling back the public auction presents a rule update relating to the public auction.